Sam Schwartz is the president and CEO of his own company called Sam Schwartz Engineering. He's here at the conference with a new book that he's written called Street Smart. So what are you telling everybody here about what's in your book?
Well, it's Street Smart, the rise of cities and the fall of cars, which I know may disappoint a number of people that are here.
Here in Detroit, yeah.
Yes, exactly. So I don't know if I'm in the right territory. But what it's about is that I noticed something unusual started to happen in the turn of the millennium around 2003, 2004, and that was total vehicle miles traveled started to go down. And it went down for 10 straight years. It did pick up the last 2 years, but we've never seen vehicle miles traveled go down for 10 years.
Unless it was a recession year, but you're right, that wasn't all recession.
It preceded the recession, accelerated through the recession, and then after every single recession it shot up, it kept going down. So what happened? So I did research and put out this book, and I found that it was largely the millennials that were driving less, and not 1 or 2% less, which when you deal with macro statistics, that's what you always see, shifts of 1 or 2%. It was 20 to 25% fewer miles being driven by the millennials than the generations before them. So I tried to look at the causes and of course try to think what does this mean for the future as well. And some of the causes were neighborhood choice. Suddenly neighborhood choice changed from suburbs to more cities. So about 40% of the millennials say they'd like to live in cities, and when you look at even suburbs and towns, they want to be in towns and suburbs that have transit and activity, and they have some density, good walking communities. So they have some different attitudes than my generation or previous generations. I couldn't wait to get behind the wheel of a car when I turned of age. This generation, some 30 or 40% aren't getting their driver's licenses. So it's kind of extraordinary what's happening, and the reasons, part of it is neighborhood choice, part of it is just the smartphone. They see mobility as a service, and they no longer see it as the car to own, that they have so many choices. When they look at their smartphone, they can get anywhere. I could pluck any millennial down in any city in the world, and they'll know how to get around by transit. If there's an Uber there, if there's a car share, a bike share, they've unlocked the mysteries of transit.
Sam, what some people have said is, look, this is because millennials are having a hard time getting a job, but when they do get a job, and they start to get some money and probably get married and maybe have kids, move to the suburbs, then they go out and buy a car. And as you noted, we've seen the vehicle miles traveled bump up in the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. Do you think that's what's happening, or do you think we'll go back to this downward trend?
Yeah, I think that can only partially explain it. And we know that unemployment has dipped below 5%. That means more driving. We also know that gas prices have plummeted. That means more driving. We also know that there are new vehicles on the road, such as Uber, Lyft. They didn't exist 5 years ago. And there's some 30 different kinds of cost services, from bridge to get to via, that are just adding a lot of vehicle miles traveled. So I don't think anybody knows enough yet about that 2-year rise that we're seeing in VMT. I don't think it's the millennials in large numbers that are behaving like previous generations, because their starting point is so much lower than previous generations when they were in their 20s. And in interviews, transit ridership is also going up. Bike riding is also going up. Walking's going up. And a lot of millennials in surveys that we've done want to be healthy. And one way they deal with getting enough activity is by not driving, and by walking more, and by biking more, and even taking transit burns over 20% more calories than riding in a car.
Okay, so what's your message to the auto industry then? Should it be worried that 30 to 40% millennials don't get a driver's license? Or is that going to be made up with the vehicle miles traveled as they all jump into Uber and Lyft and other kinds of services?
Yeah, the future, as Yogi Berra said, it's pretty hard to predict. So the future, I'm not sure. We now have Uber and Lyft was such a shock to the system in a lot of cities. It really jolted, certainly New York City, where I'm from, where traffic speeds have plummeted now, and Gridlock, my other name, certainly is happening more often. But we also have the autonomous vehicles coming. Now, how the younger people are going to react to that would be interesting. They do like apps. So if it's vehicles that are on demand, that's something that I think will be attractive to them. If it's owning the vehicle itself, I don't think that that's going to be the path forward. And frankly, I don't think that's the right path forward. I think the right path forward is, again, as I said, mobility as a service. It's on demand, and people then make the choice. What do they want to do? In lots of surveys we found, millennials, when they go out at night, they don't even know how they're going to get back. But they're not worried because they have their smartphones and they've got a dozen choices before them.
Well, Sam, this has been interesting. Going to be fascinating to see how it all plays out, because we're still at the very infancy of this big change that's about to hit the automotive industry.
Yes, that's for sure.
Thanks so much for your time today. Really
Great.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.